You clicked this because of the title, so let me just be direct. I tested Delphi AI and the answers were good, but they proved something really important. Delphi AI doesn't really think like you. It just searches your content and answers in your voice. And in this video, I'm gonna show you the real answers that I got from a Delphi clone, show you one trade-off question that exposes whether it thinks or it just searches, breaks down the 3 cracks that clones always hit, which is novelty, judgment, and ownership, and give you the one thing to build this month, which is a decision library that turns how you think into something that you can actually train a system on. So my name is Aaron, and if you're a founder who's already played with AI and feels like this is cool, but it's pretty shallow, then this is for you. And if you want a fan Q&A in your voice, then Delphi is great, and you probably don't need what I'm about to show you. But let's just get started by saying, in quick plain English, what Delphi is actually doing. So you give it your content, which is your YouTube, podcasts, blogs, and PDFs, and it turns all of that into text and plugs it into a big searchable library. So when someone asks your clone a question, it basically searches that library for relevant chunks, pastes those into the prompt, and then tells a general AI model, hey, answer like, insert your name, the creator. So Delphi is really just search over your own content, a style wrapper that tells the model to use your tone, and that's pretty much it. That's it. No model retraining, no weights updated. It's just your content and a costume on a base model like ChatGPT or Claude. And you could think of it like your own custom GPT in a way. But it's trained on what your playbook is for testing idea. So when I signed up, I was able to get a free trial, and I asked it one question. I asked the Delphi clone of Stanley Tang, which is DoorDash's co-founder, what's your playbook for testing new ideas fast? And here's what it said, summarized of course. The playbook is test your hypothesis fast, launch before you're ready, and do things that don't scale. Then it walks through the classic DoorDash origin story, which is a simple landing page, PDF menus, personal phone number, scrambling to fulfill first orders. And it explains why they manually dispatched drivers, why doing unscalable things taught them what to automate, why people fail when they build scalable infrastructure before knowing that anybody cares. And this part is really good. I wouldn't say it's in his voice, but it's the right information. It uses the right story, right? It is exactly what a founder or a junior founder wants when they ask, hey, how do you test ideas? On quote style questions like, what's your playbook? What do you think about X? This is actually pretty good. Delphi is excellent. It's a content assistant, and right now it's not a toy. But now let's look at the other type of question, the one that claims to clone judgment. Here's the question I use to stress test it. This is the kind of thing founders actually agonize over. Over the last year, I've told you I left a safe job, took on personal debt, bet everything on learning a new skill. Now my business hit a plateau. I can either, 1, fire a toxic top performer who carries 30% of revenue, or keep them and risk culture crash. You know my history, and based on all of that, which way would I be most likely to lean and why? Here's what Delphi said, condensed. I need to be honest, I don't have the memory of these specific conversations with you. It infers from the text at that point that you've made a bet on yourself, so you're not risk averse. It explains the trade-off. If you think you're irreplaceable, you keep them and manage the cultural cost. If you think you can rebuild that 30% and protect culture, you make the harder short-term move. And it ends with, neither is obviously right. One belief will feel more true to you. That's probably where you're gonna land. What's your honest read on whether you can recover that revenue without them? So is that answer dumb? No. It's actually pretty good generic advice. It's honest about its own memory, and it gives a reasonable framing. But notice what it can't do. It's not referencing an actual history of your decisions. It doesn't commit to a choice based on your real pattern, and it throws it back at you instead of choosing. That's exactly the limitation that I care about. So let's put a simple frame on this. Every clone platform like this, not just Delphi, hits the same 3 cracks: novelty, judgment, and ownership. Let's talk about novelty. It's new problems that weren't in the content. If you never talked about a specific messy scenario, the clone just reuses generic frameworks, avoids taking a real stance, or it says it doesn't have the info. It's not drawing on years of private decisions. It's interpreting this one prompt plus your public content. Judgment, hard trade-offs and redirections. This is what it will do. It will explain pros and cons, talk about frameworks, and ask decent follow-up questions. But it will almost never say fire them or keep them based on your track record. And it will never say you're asking the wrong question. Here's the real one. It answers what has been asked, but a real advisor sometimes refuses the question and changes it. Let's talk about ownership, the brain versus the subscription. So your mind is text chunks in their system and index that they can control. We're talking about Delphi, a persona prompt that you can't actually export. Theirs, no model file to download, no artifact that you can move to another host. So that means that Delphi owns that intellectual property. If they change their pricing or just shut down completely, this clone of yours is completely gone. So for consistent search and light coaching, clones are actually really good. These clones are really good. But for deep judgment and internal decision making, they're gonna hit a super hard ceiling. So what's the alternative? When I say training a system on your IP, I don't mean uploading all of your PDFs and hope. I mean collecting structured examples of the questions that you get, the answers you actually give, the trade-offs that you care about, what you say no to, where to redirect the conversation. So think of it like this. Teaching a junior you over and over, when you see something like this, this is how we handle it, and here's why. And over time, a system can pick up your mental models. You're always check these three things first, habits, and your we never promise this, even if they ask nicely. So when a new situation actually shows up, this is an example, but just say that your senior engineer wants equity reset mid-project. Do we renegotiate or hold firm? A system trained on your IP can at least attempt to mirror how you would weigh similar conflicts and not just quote a blog post on how to manage negotiation, right? It's gonna do a little bit more work. And that's the difference. Clone platforms give you search and style. Trained expertise models aim for patterns and trade-offs. And let me be clear, neither of them is magic. Both have limits, but they're built for different jobs. So again, let me just be clear, I'm not here to dunk on Delphi.ai. You should be using a cloning platform if, just say you're a creator who wants fans to ask you questions and you answer them back in your own voice. Maybe you're selling low ticket, ask my AI anything access. You maybe want some fast deployment with paywalls, analytics, and voice video baked in. So that would be good because it's all good for that kind of stuff. The output that I showed you kind of proves it. If you're an expert, it can give you really good examples of how to steer the conversation. But you should consider a trained expertise system if, and only if, your thinking is the product. We're talking strategy, advisory, fractional executive work as an example. Or maybe you want your team to ask, how would this CEO think about this problem? And not always need you. You're embedding AI into workflows is another example. We're talking about like deal desk decisions, hiring shortcuts, lead scoring, and support escalation. These are some really good use cases for fine tuning. So there, the difference is between a smart but generic founder advice and this is how roughly you see it actually matters. So in those scenarios, you need more than just your voice and quotes. You need novelty, judgment, and ownership on your side. So based on the research and real builds, a real second brain system needs 3 layers completely working together, which is train behavior, change how the model tends to respond, okay? This will be your style, your frameworks, your red lines, and this right here is the beginning, the foundation of training your own IP. Number 2 is search over your knowledge. So it stays fresh with your latest content, can pull in concrete examples, can show this answer came from here, these types of resources. And number 3, a system that's around it. So this will be memory across all of your sessions, client company context. So if you're embedding this into your company, you want to know about your company and also its own knowledge set. And also, and I think that this is really important, is access control. What answers are for the public versus your team versus leadership. Actual interfaces and workflows for your team will use this day to day. So these types of things become super, super important. And that's what I mean by a CEO clone OS. I wanna make this distinction. That it's not just a chatbot. not just a fine-tuned model, but it's a full system that behaves like a third co-founder. It thinks roughly like you in a domain. It knows your material, remembers what just happened, and fits into real work. Clone platforms today nailed the search and UX part, but model labs are nailing the training part, and almost nobody is packaging the full stack for operators. And that's the gap that I really care about. Now, even if you've never touched fine-tuning this year, that's fine. There's one move that sets you up for any serious AI system from now on, which is building a decision library in one domain where your judgment is the choke point. So let's pick a lane. We can go with pricing exceptions, your marketing system, hiring decisions, or maybe even client escalations. Then do this. So step one, just make a simple table. Columns like the situation, what was going on, what I decided, what did we actually do, why I decided it. And this will be 1 to 3 sentences in your own words. What I said or did in the email, the script, or action taken. And when this applies, when it doesn't. And that would be the guardrails. Step 2 is backfill 20 to 30 real decisions. You have to go through your email threads, Slack, docs, and even your own memory. And for each meaningful decision in that lane, fill one role. The situation, decision, why, what you said, when you'd repeat it. And step 3 is log every new decision in that lane for the next 30 days. So anytime a new case comes up, you answer it like you normally would. Then you take 2 minutes to just log it. And by the end of the month, you're gonna have not just content, but structured examples of how you think in one area. And that's the raw material. And you see, clone platforms needed to surface better snippets. Training pipelines needed to actually learn your patterns. And that is the raw material. Now, it's clone platforms needed to surface better snippets, and training pipelines needed to actually learn your patterns. So if you ever want an AI system that thinks like you and you don't have this kind of data, well, you're basically asking for it to learn from vibes. So here's the punchline. Delphi.ai doesn't actually think like you. It searches your content and answers in your voice, and that's great for fans and broad coaching, but it's not a second brain. Training on your intellectual property is how you start to build something way closer to your brain, and it becomes way more valuable in the future. You encode your patterns, your trade-offs, and your never do these kind of rules. But even that's just one layer. A real CEO clone OS learns how you think, grounds itself in what you know, and lives inside workflows your team uses every single week. If you're sick of AI toys and clones that only handle surface level questions, your next move is not find a better cloning platform. It's pick one domain, build a decision library for it, turn how you think into examples the system can actually learn from, and that's how you go from renting a chatbot to building the third co-founder your business actually needs.